Fashion is supposed to be about clothes. So why are some of the world's most talked about fashion events removing them? Millions of people are debating whether this is the future of creativity or the end of fashion as we know it. Designers call it freedom. Critics call it controversial. But what if we've misunderstood fashion all along? In the next few minutes, you'll discover why some of the biggest names in art and design believe clothing was never the main point. And once you see the reason why, you may never look at fashion the same way again. So why then are we witnessing a radical departure from this fundamental principle? Why are some of the world's most influential and forward-thinking designers orchestrating experiences where the clothing itself seems to retreat, becoming a secondary character, or at times disappearing entirely? We see it in avant-garde presentations that feel more like performance art than a seasonal collection. Models walk runways not just in fabric, but in light, in shadow, in paint, or in nothing at all. The focus shifts from the cut of a jacket to the curve of a spine, from the drape of a silk dress to the tension in a muscle. In these spaces, the familiar rhythm of the fashion show is disrupted. The audience is no longer just observing a product line. They are being asked to contemplate the human form itself, presented not as a hanger for clothes, but as the primary medium of expression. It's a profound and unsettling shift that challenges the very commercial and artistic foundations of the industry. When the body becomes the garment, the established rules of fashion begin to dissolve. The very vocabulary we use to describe and critique clothing, silhouette, tailoring, texture, color, becomes insufficient. A new language is required, one that speaks of anatomy, of movement, of vulnerability. This is not merely about nudity or shock value. It is a deliberate and philosophical exploration. It is a movement that recenters the human element in an industry often criticized for its detachment. When skin is the textile and bone is the structure, the relationship between the creator, the creation, and the observer is fundamentally altered. The garment is no longer a separate object to be possessed. It is an inseparable part of a living, breathing being. The rules of commerce, of seasonality, of trends, they all bend to this new corporeal reality. To truly understand the significance of this contemporary trend, we must look beyond the immediate spectacle. This is not a phenomenon born in a vacuum. Its roots run deep, and to trace them, we need to go back hundreds of years, long before the concept of a fashion designer even existed. We must return to a time when the study of the human form was considered one of the highest pursuits of art and science. Think of the Renaissance masters, poring over anatomical studies, not just to understand medicine, but to unlock the secrets of divine proportion. Artists once studied the body with a devotion that bordered on worship. They sought to decode its intricate systems of proportion, tension, and grace. In the contrapposto of a marble statue, they found a formula for effortless elegance. In the detailed sketches of muscle and sinew, they discovered the mechanics of emotion. In this classical world, long before brand logos and seasonal trends came to signal our place in society, the body itself was the ultimate signifier. Form signaled truth. The posture of a figure could convey power, humility, divinity, or sorrow. The idealized form was a vessel for abstract concepts, for beauty, for heroism, for the perfectible nature of humanity. This deep intrinsic understanding of the body's expressive power is the forgotten bedrock upon which all fashion was eventually built. When the first great houses of couture emerged, their genius lay not just in their handling of fabric, but in their intuitive grasp of anatomy. Early couture was a conversation with the body. Designers shaped fabric to echo the elegant curve of the collarbone, to follow the line of the spine, to accentuate the subtle architecture of muscle and bone. The boning of a corset was not just about restriction, it was an attempt to sculpt a living statue, to impose an idealized geometry onto the flesh. Through this intimate dialogue, designers learned how the body gives life to inert material. Movement revealed how different textiles breathe with the skin, how they catch the light with every gesture, how they can either constrain or liberate the person within. A heavy wool falls with a sense of gravity and purpose. A delicate silk chiffon floats with ethereal lightness. Each choice was a response to the body's potential for motion. The texture of a garment was an invitation to the senses, a promise of a tactile experience. But it was always, and fundamentally, the living, moving, breathing body that animated it. Without the warmth of skin, the pulse of a heartbeat, and the energy of human presence, even the most exquisite garment is just a beautiful object. It lacks a soul. In this way, fashion learned to speak body language long before it ever learned to speak the language of logos and marketing. It was a silent, physical poetry. But somewhere along the way, this intimate connection began to fray. As fashion scaled into a global industry, the focus shifted from the individual body to the mass market. The garment became a product, and the body a consumer. The conversation became a monologue, but what happened next was not a return to the past. It was a radical leap forward that shocked the fashion world and challenged its core identity. Visionary designers and curators began to dismantle the wall between the commercial runway and the contemplative gallery. Exhibitions emerged that blurred these lines, casting living, breathing bodies as artifacts to be studied. The models were no longer just walking advertisements for a product. They were the exhibit itself. The act of observing them became an act of aesthetic and philosophical inquiry. Performance art became a new medium for fashion, turning the act of dressing or undressing into a public ritual. It was no longer about the finished product, but about the process, the labor, the vulnerability of creation. In these performances, the materials of fashion expanded beyond fabric. Light became a liquid textile that could be poured over the body. Sound became a force that could shape the atmosphere and dictate the rhythm of a heartbeat. Even the performer's own breath, visible in the cold air of a gallery, became a fleeting, ephemeral material. Technology began to play a crucial role, with digital projections mapping the body's curves, while the ancient human touch of craft pressed into them. This fusion of the digital and the analog, the technical and the human, created a powerful new aesthetic. In these moments, the audience was transformed. Viewers weren't just seeing clothes anymore. They were being invited into a more profound sensory experience. They were feeling bodies speak. In the shared silence of the gallery, in the collective held breath of the audience, a different kind of connection was being forged. It was a connection based not on aspiration or consumer desire, but on a shared humanity. In that hush, fashion felt human again. It was stripped of its commercial armor, its layers of marketing and hype, and reduced to its most essential elements: a body, a gesture, an idea. And in that raw, vulnerable state, it found a new and powerful voice. We recognize ourselves in the texture of skin before we recognize a brand. We understand the language of a shiver, a deep breath, a steady gaze, more intuitively than we understand the language of trends. This body-centered approach to fashion collapses the distance between the maker, the wearer, and the viewer. It offers agency to the performer, whose presence and energy complete the work. It reveals a profound vulnerability, reminding us of our own fragile, mortal existence. And above all, it demands our presence. It asks us to be here, now, to witness this fleeting moment. This is the frontier where fashion is heading. It is a space of immense creative potential, but also one that raises complex questions about art, commerce, and the very nature of identity. The question we must now ask is not simply whether fashion is changing. That much is clear. The more important question is whether our definition of fashion is capable of changing with it.